Engage in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. At this point, we'll open the meeting up for any public comment. Anyone wish to address the commission this morning on any issue that's not on the agenda? In person, out there online, or on the phone? Hearing none, we will move on to second reading and possible adoption of ordinance 256.
An ordinance 256, an ordinance entitled an amendment to Title IV zoning ordinance of Brown County for portions of Chapter 4.01 definitions, Chapter 4.06 egg preservation, Chapter 4.07 mini egg preservation, Chapter 4.08 what's R1? Scott, what's R1?
4.01?
No, R1, 4.08.
Yeah, right about, 6 is egg, 7 is mini egg, 8 would be, yep, R1.
What is it? Industrial?
What's that?
What is it? Are industrial?
R1,
Yes.
residential.
Residential, okay. Chapter 4.09, R2, Chapter 4.10, R3, Chapter 4.11, RU, Chapter 4.16, heavy industrial, in addition to Title IV zoning ordinance of Brown County with Chapter 4.37 solar energy systems and private solar energy systems, all adopted by ordinance 256 as amended in Title IV zoning ordinance of Brown County, South Dakota.
All right, is there anyone here to speak to ordinance 256? It's the second reading. Scott, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I did a couple of them corrections
Okay.
and, switched them.
Okay.
And they were highlighted, and that's about it.
Commissioner Gage, do
Setback.
you have anything you'd like to add?
We did change the setback to 1,500 feet in there with the justifications. That is different on this one than what it was on the first reading, so.
Okay.
And that'd be across all the R1s and all that stuff.
Sure.
So.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to ordinance 256? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move.
Motion by Gage,
Second.
second by Feldheim. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, we'll review quotes to replace the heating and air conditioning or cooling systems for the 24/7 building.
The Judy.
Judy, is she out there?
No.
Judy?
She wanted me to hand them to you guys.
Okay.
If you had questions, we could call her.
Good. We're good. We're good here. Lynn's got them.
We have two quotes, one from Woodman Refrigeration for $8,743, and one from Jake's Heating and Cooling for $9,000. They're both a 96% efficient, natural gas furnace, 80,000 BTUs. And 13 SEER air conditioner.
She's reviewed the quotes.
Yep, and she requested to go with Woodman.
Okay, we have a recommendation from maintenance, head of maintenance to accept the Woodman refrigeration quote for $87.43.
Move.
Motion by Feldheim.
Second.
Second by Gage. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, next up, Kaiser Lang, Summit Carbon Solutions, and Gevo Inc. project update. Good morning.
Good morning. So like I mentioned last week, we're going to work to get you guys information, tell you more about the project. Overall, just be more transparent. Part of that is going through the why of the project. I'm not sure that has ever been fully explained. And there's been kind of an understanding that it's, the project is us bowing down to California. and there's a lot more to that, and I have a lot of opinions on that, and eventually you guys will hear it. But since I've got Kent here today, who works with GIVO, he's going to kind of go through GIVO and what sustainable aviation fuel is and what it could mean to South Dakota and how it kind of ties into the Summit Carbon Project. So I'll kick it over to him.
Good
Morning. Kent Hartwig, Director of State and Local Government Affairs for GIVO. We're a publicly traded company, so I've got my thoughts kind of written down, so it's okay. Read a statement here. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce GIVO and our efforts to build our first large-scale sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, facility in Lake Preston, South Dakota. Here we'll ferment corn into ethanol, and then in a secondary process, turn the ethanol into a hydrocarbon that's a drop-in replacement for jet fuel. This plant is called Net Zero 1 due to our efforts to defossilize and decarbonize the entire production process. So at this plant, we intend to produce 65 million gallons of renewable fuel. And this will predominantly be sustainable aviation fuel, but there will also be some smaller amounts of renewable diesel and naphtha, which is also a gasoline replacement similar to ethanol. We also intend to hire approximately 90 full-time employees and employ up to 1,500 construction workers over the next 3 years as we ramp up the construction there. At more than $850 million of fully installed and financed investment to build the SAF plant, and an additional $150 million for the wind turbine facility, the Lake Preston plant is expected to be the largest investment South Dakota has ever seen. Now, because we intend to process approximately 38 million bushels of corn annually, this plant will purchase corn from farmers far beyond Kingsbury County, and the economic benefits will be seen throughout South Dakota. We also have 695,000 metric tons of distillers grain that we intend to produce, and this will go to feed livestock in the surrounding area. So to develop a net zero carbon SAF, GIVO is focused on capturing as much carbon reduction as possible through the entire ethanol to SAF process. And this begins with working directly with farmers to incentivize ag practices that reduce their emissions. So we intend to pay a premium for corn raised in a low carbon way. So for example, reduce fertilizer usage, reduce synthetic fertilizer usage, conservation tillage, potential for cover crops, even using biodiesel in your farm equipment, all have a contribution to lower carbon feedstock. The Net Zero 1 facility will also reduce fossil emissions by creating a wind turbine farm for renewable electricity that's directly connected to the plant. We'll have excess capacity there to run a hydrogen electrolyzer to create renewable hydrogen. And then we also run a dairy digester that creates renewable natural gas, which could be an input for our facility. So due to all these steps that we're using or taking to create the lowest carbon fuel possible, I think you can imagine that carbon capture and sequestration is an important part of our plan to reduce the carbon intensity of our fuels to net zero and even below zero. So as GIVO builds the NZ1 plant, CCS opportunities are important to ensuring the long-term profitability and viability of this plant. And therefore, we're working with Summit Carbon Solutions to connect to their pipeline network here in South Dakota. It will dramatically reduce our CO2 emissions at our production. And this partnership is in line with our net zero mentality, and it's essential for GIVO to achieve beyond zero carbon emissions. So we believe that carbon capture and sequestration is going to be the competitive standard in SAF production, given the potential economic impact and the measurable reduction of the carbon footprint. So if the CCS pipeline is not available to the Lake Preston Net Zero 1 plant, this facility will be economically disadvantaged to other locations we are actively looking at to develop across the country. So failure for the Summit pipeline to be built in South Dakota puts our Lake Preston project in severe risk of being relocated to a more advantageous location that has the availability of CCS. Now, GIVO also supports the establishment of the pipeline for the ability to significantly reduce the carbon emissions from ethanol plants across the state. And in the fight to maintain ethanol production and corn basis in the face of electric vehicles, innovation like carbon capture sequestration pipelines are an important step to limiting carbon intensity of the renewable fuels in the transportation sector. So CCS pipelines aren't just about renewable fuels or SAF, but also the future for renewable chemicals. As technologies in carbohydrate fermentation for future fuels develop, CCS will be a valuable tool to decarbonize these processes. So we maintain numerous patents for specialty chemicals and plastics, and we're in joint development agreements to bring these products to market. The lack of CCS pipelines will stifle innovation, growth, and decarbonization in South Dakota and allow exciting new projects to leak into other states with viable CCS options. New opportunities like chemicals will be tied to CCS pipelines. Gevo's got a history of working with South Dakota-based companies, universities, and corn growers to develop environmentally friendly products. This is a testament to South Dakota as such a great state to do business in. And as we look for future sites, we have the intention to expand our network. We're not just going to build one plant. We want to build multiple. As we look for future sites for additional plants, South Dakota is high on our list. And we have to look at the proximity of pipelines as a major consideration as we make our decisions on future net zero plants. So I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to have a conversation with you today. And I've got some handouts here and business cards. Happy to be someone that, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to.
Okay. Any questions of either of these people? Go ahead.
Just a quick one. You said if it wasn't going to be here because of the pipeline, you'd go elsewhere. I mean, and South Dakota's high on your list as far as that goes. Where would you have access to other CCS or carbon capture pipelines?
Yeah, so
where would you be looking at other than here?
It's really about the geology, and I think Summit could, speak about the geology if you've got questions relating to that, but it's where the carbon can be stored permanently, and so locations that are closer to those where you don't need a pipeline make sense. So there's carbon sinks in North Dakota, Nebraska, Illinois, and like the Decatur area. Louisiana has several sinks, so those would be options that we're looking at.
Okay. Go ahead, Jared.
So are you need the Summit pipeline to get their carbon dioxide to make all the products that we have been talking about that are options to do at these plants, like using the green methanol, which is in the plastics, all that. There's really no sequestering going on. I mean, that was the Summit's whole plan, was to pull that over on everybody. And confirm everything right now that we said how Glacial Lakes and the local ethanol plants got duped out of their own carbon dioxide.
So
you need that. That's why you need the pipelines. You need the carbon dioxide. There's going to be little to, I don't know what you're going to sequester.
So our process is an ethanol plant with a hydrocarbon plant. So there's two facilities. One is fermenting carbohydrates to make the alcohol. Any fermentation process takes the starch, sugars, and feeds it to yeast, which creates alcohol and carbon dioxide. Part of our carbon footprint is the carbon dioxide that's emitted at the ethanol plant. Our process doesn't require carbon dioxide to make fuel. So we're capturing the emissions of the carbon dioxide at the ethanol plant, putting it into the pipeline to a permanent carbon sequestration site. And that reduces our carbon intensity, which is valuable in the marketplace.
But you use that 98% pure carbon dioxide.
No, we would be permanently sequestering it underground.
Seems like a waste, doesn't it?
It is the process.
You know that stuff's there. And you know there's no reason to just put plant food in the ground. You need corn, you need that, now we're just gonna let this stuff go. Like I don't know, I think you guys are trying to talk it on two sides of your mouth here. There's still some shadiness in this whole thing. So there's no Glacial Lakes people here today. Maybe they don't want to hear how they got duped. You know this carbon dioxide will be worth something. And they gave it away for a premium, back to California. Well, if everybody does the same thing, captures this, there's no premium then anymore, because nothing's any different than anything else. Premiums go away. More or less, I feel you guys stole the carbon dioxide from these plants. If you can do it at the plants, how come you can't set up them deals at all the plants? If you got the jet fuel stuff, can that be trucked and railed away then, or kind of like methanol can be? Well, at every one of the plants, they're already set up that way. There's room at the plants to add. How big of a spot do you need to do the jet fuel thing?
the methanol side of it does not sound like a very big deal. The methanol is a very big deal in the world, where this is the 5th biggest, the largest traded commodity in the world. I mean, there's some opportunity for these owned plants that are farmer-owned plants to do something with this stuff and not steal the land, not use a pipeline, and not give our locally owned, farmer-owned plants, I don't know, give them away, more or less, the way it looks. Just some of my concerns.
I guess I just want to point out, I think Glacial Lakes is actually incredibly excited about the future of sustainable aviation fuel and what that market could mean. They're well aware of Gevo, as well as other companies, and their future in that industry. And if you don't mind going into what the future and
Sure.
the growth amounts in the various airline industries and their targets.
So globally, there's about 110 billion gallons of jet fuel used on an annual basis, and so the market potential is enormous. Our ability to blend fuel directly to the airlines is significant. We can blend up to 50% of our fuel with Jet A, and I think that's important given the history with ethanol of having challenges getting a fraction of the tank right. We're already significantly able to penetrate the market. So there's significant demand. I think the one area that's really important to recognize is that our customers want this product. The airlines are actively working with us in an effort to get sustainable aviation fuel. It will take decades to transition airlines to any new technology, whether it's hydrogen or electric airlines, and I just don't see that happening in the next 40 years. So really, we're the only option for airlines as they decarbonize, and they have a goal to do that at a corporate level and then from an investor standpoint, right? They're being told by their investors, we want this fuel. And so our responsibility to them is to provide the lowest carbon solution that we possibly can, and that takes in all of these components, brings them together, and we're really the entity that's trying to do that.
Dennis?
I guess I'm curious as to why Gevo now just all of a sudden showed up here now that the PUC and PHMSA said that the pipeline has to adhere to the county ordinances. So why weren't you here ahead of the game rather than letting the Summit Carbon Solutions try to ram this pipeline through the people's private property? I mean, now here you are selling some economically powerful company when you've got a state of South Dakota that in 23 had 97 million in surplus, in 22 they had 115 million in surplus, and in 20 they had 87 million in surplus, and now you kind of sit here indirectly and threaten that if this doesn't go through, this pipeline doesn't go through in South Dakota, you're going to take your Gevo out of state. I mean, indirectly we heard that, and I'm just curious if you can explain to us why you're here now trying to help Summit ram this pipeline through the countryside when people don't want it.
So there's one of me. I'm working in multiple states. That's on me, right? That's my ability to be in more places at once than possible. I think it's not something that we've been shy about. We've had conversations at the state legislature on working towards seeing solutions for getting the pipeline built. Right now, at an educational process, I'm talking about what our plant is looking at from a carbon reduction standpoint.
Go ahead, Mike.
Where do you currently have plants now?
We have a renewable natural gas facility in northwest Iowa that's a dairy digester. We've got a old brine pellet facility in Laverne, Minnesota. That's where really we built out our process, right? So understanding how we make the fuel and kind of the developmental stage. So making isobutanols, ethanols at that location, then we would ship it down to Silsbee, Texas, where we have the hydrocarbon plant. So now we're pairing those two technologies, the ethanol production with the hydrocarbon at the facility at Lake Preston. So we're in the process of building that out.
All right.
You already have your place at like that then?
Yes, we do.
Okay, how far are you out of town, in town, close to town? Where is that?
You can see town, I mean, it's maybe a mile outside of Lake Preston.
Do you know what their setbacks and stuff are in like, in which county?
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury, there we go, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not.
I was just wondering if the,
Are you talking about pipelines?
yeah.
They don't have a pipeline ordinance.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, well, thank you for the information, appreciate it.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Scott.
In your plans, does it involve like purging the pipeline and then transporting other chemicals, jet fuel, things like that through the pipeline?
No, our pipeline and the easements are specifically written that it can only transport CO2.
The carbon to sequester?
Yeah,
And that's it?
that is it. That's the only thing that can be transported in that pipeline, unless all easements were renegotiated and a different state permit.
All right, thank you very much for the update.
Thank you.
Next up, Dirk Rogers, Highway Superintendent. Morning, Dirk.
Howdy. Three right-of-ways. Did you guys have copies of these?
They were in the back.
Yes.
The ones, the maps all horse stuff, I couldn't figure out where it was, but, that's this first one, it's right at the intersection of 14 and 11 up here. They're just connecting, it's just broadband coming from about a quarter mile south up around the corner. It's all bored and I don't have a problem with it.
You want them individually or all?
It's up to you guys. You can do them all together. They're all the same people.
They're all Northern Valley.
Hyder Construction doing them for Northern Valley.
Okay.
Second one is, this one will get some attention. This is on County Road 12, and starting at 15 and going north, which is Fairgrounds Road and Roosevelt for most people, but, so at the corner of Fairgrounds and Roosevelt, they'll be going north in the ditch there.
Okay.
Start around County 12. And as much as I wanna make it some kind of thing I can blame on the city, I can't, so it's, I would recommend that one as well. Looks like it's putting it into the, what's that development there on the west side? No.
Pheasant Run?
Yeah, or whatever that's called. Villages. And this one's up in God's country. Right there along Road 5, in that corner, 3 miles east of Hatba. And that's good, we've already fixed the road there, so I recommend that one as well.
All right. Could entertain a motion to approve the three right-of-ways. Motion by Gage.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Always could clear a
Motion
room.
carries.
I could clear a room. Just a couple things we're still working on, that Elm Lake project's still going. We took a little time out up there. I think they're done with the, seeding and the erosion control stuff. We had stuff, put the fences back, which, man, trying to find a fencer. We were gonna do it and then tried finding a fencer, and I think we're gonna be back to where we're gonna do it. But that's about all that's left up there. A little cleanup. We just turned.
Is it officially open now?
No, we're leaving, it's, again, I'm not gonna say it's officially open, I know it's getting used. The Game and Fish, I doubt are gonna put in, you know, there's not a, you can put a boat in, there's not a dock down there, I don't think, right now. They usually update stuff a little bit, and I don't know if they're gonna do some other stuff down there. Just a side note, I think there may be parking, I don't know what the word is. It's never been great for parking down there, even when, you know, you came in the other way, 'cause the boat landing just sits down there, and then you kinda just put everything around there, but that might have to be something that's delineated at some time, but
Sure.
it's pretty nice, though. It sure looks different. I don't know if you guys have been up there, but it just, Jesus, I did not expect it to look that impactful, I guess. We're still paving today. I don't know, we squeezed in a little more here, and we'll probably have to take a time out. Looks like we're gonna get hit with rain, and then we'll get fired up again this afternoon, but, we just turned around up there in 16, so we have 4 miles to do to get back to 10, and then that'll be done for where we're leaving it this year. And we've gotta hop out to the Beagler Road and see what we can still get accomplished out there at the lake. So, that's the one that goes down to the fishing dock.
That'll be the full mile overlay?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be at this point, and I'm still comfortable paving. You're kinda out of the blotter building business at this point of the year. We would have one more thing, is shooting oil on that, you know, where we're gonna have to be pretty cognizant of what the temp and stuff is, but outside of that, it should be okay, unless we go down to 30 starting Monday or something, but.
Right.
And then we're mowing, probably doing it wrong and poorly and in the wrong spots, but we're mowing it, so.
Well, it's good to be
How can you
consistent.
mow in the wrong spot?
I have no idea, I have not, mowing and striping are two things I have never, I just can't figure them out. I never got it right, ever. So.
Practice makes perfect.
That's right, you would think. I don't really have anything else, it's just a little update on what we have going, and unless you guys have anything. You okay over there, Scott?
Wrong pipe.
I didn't say anything that good right there.
All right, well, thank you, Dirk.
Yeah, call if you need something.
For that, we got
Thanks,
your
sir.
number. All right, next up, Rachel Kipley, Fairgrounds Parks Manager. Good morning, Rachel.
Morning.
Morning. Give my best lobbying attempt here. I think you guys have this in the packet as well, but, so we're talking forklifts today. We have 3 on the ground, of which 1 is running, and we got, most of them you don't know what year they are, because we bought them off surplus, they didn't come with maintenance, the handbooks or anything like that. So the biggest thing is trying to find something that's small enough to get in those smaller garage doors that we have in the home mart, the clubhouse, the bunny barn. So those were all the options that we found at 3 different locations, and all things considered with the number of hours and things, I was gonna recommend to you guys the Unicarrier out of Bloomington. They'll give us a little bit of a trade-in value for one of the 3 that's not running. And when I say it's not running, it will run for about an hour and then it overheats. And we've had significant work done on it, and now the repairs are just adding up, and it's just time to see if we can't get something else. I know budgets are gonna be tight at the end of the year. There was a few things unforeseen that we had, but I think between parks, fairgrounds, and even Fair Board, if we need to throw together what we can, we'll do our best to cover it. I'm not gonna make any promises, because I know there's a lot of things there, but it's definitely a need.
The other 2, can they be surplus? They're not even worth surplus?
There's an old green one, Granny, it's got some longer forks on it that we still use. The 3rd one, yeah, we could probably, if somebody else is wanting to surplus and stuff, but I hate to do it just for that. But, yeah, definitely an option. And the other 2 that I had pictures of for you, those were the 3 that I thought were kind of the nicest, but considering budgets, I think, and the hours, that's why I kind of recommend that little bit of a cheaper one, so it'll be under 19 once you take the trade-in value, and they'll deliver that.
They'll deliver it for that price? Just see they got warranty on that one too.
A little bit of a warranty, yeah, so we'll try to get it as quick as we can and use it from this fall. We start putting campers and stuff in storage here, the 18th, week of the 18th is when we're taking the boats and everything in, so that'll be a good test if we can get it by then. But yeah, we use it a lot. It'll be between Fair Week and then, you know, any packages that come out to the fairgrounds, we're always helping out the other entities that are housed out there, unloading things, and And we
So the
did-
19 model has 7XX hours.
I think they were using it a little bit, so it's under, it's 700 something.
Okay.
Was on it. And I did ask them why, because they had another version that was the same model number, but it was about 4,000 more, and they said that's got the forks that will move side to side, a hydraulic lever for the forks that way, and we just really don't need that.
Well, I think you're right, when you look at the numbers of dollars that are available in the three budgets, parks, fairgrounds, and the fair, it's gonna be probably cutting it pretty close, so you'll probably need a supplement depending
I
on
probably will.
what goes on the rest of the year, but, it's also
But the
a
guys are very...
necessary piece
Yeah.
of equipment.
And we are waiting until New Year's to buy any of our parts and stuff that we need for the upcoming spring to, you know, when we start getting the faucets back on. Everything's in the process. We're nearly done winterizing. We do still have one campground open. As long as we can take campers, we'll do it. But we're watching the weather closely, so, any of those parts and things that we know we'll need next summer, in the past, we've kinda gotten them in this fiscal year to be prepared, but we're gonna hold off on that to try to scrunch pennies as much as we can to put towards this, 'cause it's just something that we gotta do.
Okay. Any questions for Rachel? Your recommendation is the forklift of Minnesota for $20,480.
Minus the 800 off of that, yep.
Right. I guess I don't have any further questions. You've got good information here and a good selection to choose from, and that seems to be the lowest hours of all of them except for the top one. But,
I'd move to approve.
okay, motion by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Gage. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it. The second thing is just what the future holds for the rental house out at Richmond Lake. I had forwarded a few numbers to Lynn to share. Looking at the Millbank housing, that moves those, they said it would probably be between 18 and 22 to put the house up on their mover and to unload it, and then they charge about 75 bucks a mile. I think that the commission was just interested in knowing what that cost would be. Not that we as a county need it, but if you were to open it up to the public and say, does anybody out at Richmond got a lot that needs a house? Then you kind of know what they are going for. They also said you or the buyer would be responsible for any overhead utility charges, so if they get any low, electrical wires, telephone wires, things of that nature, along the route for raising the wires, tree trimming to get it out of the lot, permit costs for moving permits. You would have to have a path or trail for them to get out. You would be responsible for disconnecting all utilities, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical in the basement area, and we'd need to have the basement or crawl space cleaned out, leaving only bare studs or posts. So the only other thing was the chimney level. It would either have to be removed or we'd have to lower that chimney, because right now it's too high for them to move, they said. So just some things to take into consideration. I'm not saying that's the route to go, but it is an option as we go forward, knowing that the water for the whole youth camp is housed in the basement of that house. I guess I don't have an official recommendation right now. I just want to start the discussion because winter is coming, and do we want to just get rid of that house? So, the other option is just to demo it, but it is in pretty good shape. I sent you guys some pictures, so maybe it is worth advertising it to see if somebody wants to give some money just to move it and then put all these things on the buyer. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. Or another thing that was brought up, is there any county employees that want to live out there and you wouldn't have to worry about getting the paid rent, but maybe you set up some kind of an agreement where it's an automatic, off of their salary or something. All options on the table.
Thoughts? Guess we have options, and it hasn't been a real money maker for a lot of years, and in fact, it's been kind of a money pit for a while when we had to go in and spend quite a bit to redo it and get it livable again.
So it's been empty for 2 months, and it's still in very good shape. The only things that would have to be done on the outside. There's a little bit of area on the vinyl siding that should be repaired. It looks like maybe a grill was put too close or something. So yeah, if you wanna wait till the full board's back and have another discussion or give it some thought, if there's any research you want me to do, or...
What would it take to advertise it, just to see once we declared a surplus, to see what we got? I mean, was it necessary, we wouldn't have to accept it, and just put it out there, you buy the house and you take care of it. I don't think the county wants to be responsible for moving, and, you know, I just think you do it that way, and if somebody gives you $10,000 for it, that's a decision we can make if it's worth letting it go for 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever people, you know, houses are so crazy now to build. You know, if somebody's got a lake property and they gotta spend $30,000 to get that house over there, it's probably not a bad buy for them. You know, I guess that's, I don't know, you know, I think you throw it out there and let people decide what they wanna do with it, but if you just don't do anything with it, it's not gonna go anywhere. So I'm thinking that we advertise and see what happens.
At least now we have some estimates of what it will cost the buyer to move it and take care of those costs, so, yeah, I would have no problem just advertising it and ask for sealed bids and put an end date on it, see if we get any bites.
And is that something where we have some general language that we can just include this stuff, buyer is responsible for, and list out all those things that, I don't know, or is that something we have to start from scratch? 'Cause we've done some surplus in the past, but I don't know how easy that is to...
I think it's pretty general. Buyer responsible for moving off.
I think the only thing you run into is the trimming of the trees that are on the county property to get it out of there, I think would be...
County responsibility.
Well, I don't know what, you might be able to trim, but I mean, that's where you're gonna have to kinda see what you're trimming there, because they're still trimming county property there. I mean, obviously, I'm hooking all the electrical and everything in the house and whatnot, that's not a big deal, you know, I mean, for them to do that, or anything they're changing on the house, but trimming the tree, I don't know how many need to be trimmed. I guess when I've been out there, I haven't looked at if you can get a house to there or not, so I guess I wasn't paying attention to that, so I don't know how much it would be to
Have to go look again.
see how much would actually have to be trimmed back, I guess. Not saying we'd have to do it for free or anything, but I think we should have a say kinda in that, you know.
Much.
Yeah,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it just doesn't look like a train wreck after it's done,
Right.
is all.
So is the first step to declare it surplus, or could we wait and see what we get for potential bids before we declare it surplus?
You'd have to be declared surplus first. wouldn't it?
Before we could advertise it? Okay, that's what I assumed.
We're getting late in the year now, maybe it's something over the winter. I mean, nobody's gonna get it moved this year, presumably.
Right.
So, I think we got time. We'll look at the bids out and we'll put something together and go from there.
That would mean us having to keep it heated because of the water going through there, or at least the basement, for the whole season.
Well, we go out there weekly to check on everything else anyway, so it's a little expense, but...
Well, do we want to declare it surplus, advertise it, and maybe there's some takers, maybe somebody's more prepared to take it on than we know.
I don't think it hurts anything at this point.
Right.
Why don't we just put it on next week's agenda to do, and we'll have everybody here and have a discussion, and we can either prove it or deny it at that point, I guess.
Okay, we'll add that to next week's agenda.
I'll put a bid together and send it to you guys, and then anything that I missed, we can kinda just work on it together.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll take it up next week.
Sounds good. Any other background you need done, let me know.
Thanks for the information.
Thank you, guys. Have a great
Appreciate it.
day.
You as well. All right, next up, approve and authorize chairman to sign solid waste management program grant agreement for the new loader.
Move.
Motion by Gage.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to the consent calendar.
Approval of the general meeting minutes from September 26th.
Move.
Motion by Feldheim, I'll second that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims.
Move.
Motion by Gage.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claim assignment.
Move.
Motion by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Travel request?
Move.
Motion by Gage,
Second.
second by Feldheim. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Lease agreement?
Move.
Motion by
Second.
Gage, second by Feldheim.
Two in a row.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The Hayland lease renewal addendum.
Move.
Motion by Feldheim, I'll second that one. It's kind of a fun one. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? We've had a request by HR to go into executive session, a short executive session, for personnel, and we've had a request by Sheriff Lunsman to go into exec for, I assume, personnel, but that also indicated it was gonna be short. Ross?
I got a really quick legal.
So, all right,
This won't be short.
all right.
Everybody's.
Move to an exec.
Motion by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Gage to go into executive session. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in exec. In session, out of exec with no action as a result. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning?
Move to adjourn.
Second by Gage, second by Feldheim to adjourn.
Oh, you got it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We are adjourned.